Hi, welcome to this screencast looking at OS maps and recognising features. This session's got three main aims. It's to recognise symbols, to be able to find those symbols using 4 and 6 figure references, and look at how you can use straight line and winding distances as well. And we're going to show you a couple of examples of different things which you can do. So, first up, what have we got? Well, let's bring up an OS map and let's look at the basics. Every single OS map that you look at is going to have two main things. It's going to have grid references down the sides, and it's going to have grid references running along the top and running along the bottom. The map that we've got here is a very small scale version of what would be in your exam, a much larger version. And what they could do in the exam is they could annotate it with some different features as well. So we need to figure out how we can go about using this map to actually find different features. So let's do some basics first off. If we look at this map, we've got a high point on it, and the high point is marked by one main number, and it's over here. This 382. This is the highest point on our map. Now, I apologise for that. And now, what we need to do is find out the 6-figure grid reference for that high point. And so all we need to do here is we read the numbers along the top here first, and then we read the numbers down the side. And what we'll end up with there is a 6-figure reference for that point of 614478. And that enables us to actually find those accurate points quite clearly, because you read the 4-figure and then you add the 6-figure in from each of the boxes. There's a couple of things on this map extract that you need to be careful of. Firstly, it's got a lot of contour lines on it, and that means it makes it a bit more complicated to read. Fortunately, you'd never be asked to draw a cross-section of this. But what have we got? Well, we've got some features here which are quite important. First off, we've got this camping and caravan site here. Now, one of the most common mistakes is if you get asked to give that grid reference, is students will give that grid reference for up here. Okay, well, that would be incorrect, because the key thing you've got to see here is there is this arrow which runs down, and that arrow then tells us where this image actually is, where this point actually is. So the 6-figure grid reference for that camping and caravan site would be 597486, and that would give us the accurate figure for that point. But you'd be surprised at how many students would give it for the area north of that A road. If you look at both car parking sites on the map, both car parking sites contain similar features, and they're represented by the white P in the blue box. You don't need to worry about knowing symbols too much, because you will see them at the base of the map run it on a key. So you don't need to worry about them too much. One thing I would say is that one of the most common confusions with map symbols is where you've got issues to do with water features and railway lines, because you've got a feature over here which looks very similar to a feature which you would find on a coastline as well. So you've got these two different features which you need to be aware of. The last thing which I want to talk about is finding distances. Now, the basic thing you need to remember is that each one of these boxes is a 1 kilometre square. So the blue marked out boxes are 1 kilometre square. Now, very often you will get asked to work out a distance to the nearest kilometre. And so if I were asked to work out the different distance between, let's get that out of the way, Pont Aberglaslyn, which is here, and then Bedlingert, which is up here, what you would end up saying is that it's 2 kilometres to the nearest kilometre. And the reason behind that is you've got 1 kilometre to here, and then you've got 1 kilometre to here. You might get asked to find out a winding distance, in which case you'd use a piece of paper and follow the bends of the road to actually do it. But most of the time it's going to be a straight line distance, and it's just working out counting up the number of boxes between the 2 points. So let's look at some examples. Okay, here we've got a map of Ullswater, which is up in the Lake District, and I've given you here some questions of kind of things which you could be asked. So the first one, you've got how many campsites are there, you've got how high is the spot height, that grid reference. You'd have to find that grid reference and then work from there. You'll notice that the grid references on this map are written actually on the lines, so you need to actually use those carefully. How far is it from the place, and then give the 6-figure grid reference for the place. Pause the video, have a go at those questions, and then on the next slide you're going to see the mark scheme. Okay, so let's pause the video now. Okay, and here's the mark scheme. So there are 2 campsites on this map. The answer to the spot height was 481 metres, and that was marked by the blue triangle. You have to put the units on that though. Type of woodland, it's a coniferous woodland because it's only got the one type of trees in here, which you can see there. Okay. How far is it from Dobbin to the nearest kilometre? Well, it's 2 kilometres to the nearest kilometre. And then give the 6-figure grid reference to the 2 campsites. Well, we're given one there and one there. And again, one of them had the arrow, so you had to be careful. If you've got that wrong, that could potentially be why. Okay, I hope you found this session useful.